Now, we all know this line from the Karate Kid. Pain does not exist in this dojo, does it? No sensei.
Percentages show that primarily if you're in a confrontation, at some point you're going to end up on the ground, hopefully not knocked out.
Has there been any change in people being like, it's just too violent?
So that's why martial arts shouldn't be just about blasting people or, choking people. It should be about how can I carry myself and how can I deal with the situation effectively, quickly and effectively so I can walk away and even the perpetrator can walk away.
Hey guys, great guest today on the Off Air podcast. Connie Flynn is here. Did you know that martial arts, hey,
welcome,
can turn your fear into unbreakable confidence? I know definitely as confidence is one of those things I struggle with as a kid. Connie and her husband Mark run a business called Zenquest Martial Arts in Western Massachusetts. She is a 7th degree black belt in karate. She's a 2-stripe black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and you're also some sort of level in Sityodtong Muay Thai.
Yes, certified.
That's
So
right.
basically,
certifiable. No, I'm just kidding.
Certifiable.
Basically, you're a badass, and you could beat up both Slater and myself.
That's what they say.
You could probably take us.
Well, part of the martial arts is to not have to do that, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
all right.
You
got me there.
But if I needed to, if you feel you need to attack me, I'll take care of it.
That must be a great feeling. Like, how do you, you must walk around the earth knowing, unless you have a weapon,
But even then, you probably have more confidence in your own physical skills.
Yeah.
I don't know, than if you carried around a weapon, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of it is being able to, first of all, you have self-awareness and situational awareness. So trying to avoid situations where you have to use your skills, but knowing that if you had to, I could, so, and being able to, speak to a moment. Oh, wait a minute. This was okay. And now it's not. What do I need to do? So yeah, that definitely makes it easier to be in situations that maybe other people couldn't even try to be in. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
What percent of the world is sort of walking around with this skill set? I mean, we hear a lot about martial arts. I mean, The Karate Kid was a huge movie back in the 80s, but how many people really know what they're doing and how to fight and handle themselves on the street?
I think you have a couple different scenarios there. The people who are truly martial artists it's not obvious. I don't think it is obvious.
It's like if you're rich, you don't have to tell people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you possess that skill set, you don't have to wear it on your sleeve.
That's right. And people who posture aren't necessarily that skillful, but they rely on posturing to keep people from bothering them. But usually when people posture, it's irritating. And if you've ever been around people who sort of, walk around like, well, I know this, I know that, then it's more likely that they're going to get tested, So, but also I think it's important to not allow yourself to present as vulnerable, and I think the martial arts helps, you use the word confidence. And I think, we don't necessarily, I think there's more to it than that, but that's definitely a word that's familiar for people. So it's sort of understanding that you've put all this work in and you've been able to, work hard to accomplish these goals in terms of, whether it's karate, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA, all those kinds of things can help you understand that you don't have to, after a while, there's no thought that goes into it. So it just sort of becomes part of your lifestyle, part of what you do. So I don't think there's a huge percentage of people who carry themselves that way or even know how to carry themselves that way.
If you're on the timid side and sort of, and it bothers you that you physically don't think you could handle yourself in an altercation, would you suggest martial arts, and which one would you suggest?
So, yes. And all the exposure to all of the martial arts that I have exposure to, that I've practiced in, they're all have been developed for smaller statured people to be able to deal with larger statured people, right? So, so most of them have a self-defense element. I think that the one that is particularly that I particularly think encompasses more of that is actually our karate, our Weichi karate. It's Okinawan karate, because it has grappling elements, it has striking elements, it has judo. It kind of, once you dive into it, you can see all of those kinds of elements. That being said, though, I think it's important to do jiu-jitsu, especially as a smaller person or even as a woman, because a lot of places you might scenarios you might find yourself in if you're being attacked is you're going to end up on the ground, or someone's trying to take you somewhere, or that kind of thing. So, so that in close contact, being able to put aside, the emotional reaction, it's important to be able to know I can overcome this and I can deal with this. And, because both of those things, especially, will, you use the energy of the other person to counter, right? So it's about technique and strategy, and so you don't necessarily have to be the stronger person in terms of physicality, but mentally, I think the mental piece is so important.
Sure.
So, both the karate and jiu-jitsu, especially when they're in, when you combine them, kind of give you a rounded package. And not to discount the Muay Thai. I mean, I'm wearing the hoodie that represents that. That tends to be primarily striking. So it's good to have striking skills. If you get good at that and you can keep someone at bay long enough, then that could be the answer. But unfortunately, percentages show that primarily if you're in a confrontation, at some point you're going to end up on the ground, hopefully not knocked out, maybe just pushed or tripping, or someone tackles you, or, it's a bigger person, they pick you up, that kind of thing. So I think it's important I think cross-training is important, So I don't know, I guess my inclination with the experience that I have with the karate, it gave me a fuller package once sticking with it. But the jiu-jitsu definitely is important in terms of, what if I'm on the ground now? I need to know how to fall. I need to know how to get a bigger person off of me. I need to know, timing. It's, that sort of thing.
Sounds like there's different applications to, kind of each style. And I also suppose there's different reasons why people want to learn, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's some people who want to do it just to be able to physically defend themselves.
That's
and
right.
I'm sure some people enjoy just the discipline and the self-practice of,
that's right.
Or just to be in shape, right?
That's right.
I mean, there's lots of, just because you take, I'm sure you can take karate and not grapple, or I'm sure you can do Muay Thai and train in Muay Thai and not spar, right?
Exactly.
Just train for...
Sometimes people do karate because they've seen something like The Karate Kid and movies and things like that, and so they're interested in, well, how accurate is this, and how fun will this be, and karate has, has the stand-up and it has forms, and so, that can be a little hard for people, because forms sometimes they seem like, well, what am I doing? But it's really just a form of shadow boxing, so in Muay Thai you shadow box, so you're practicing your moves and your stances by moving around and, and that kind of thing. And then jiu-jitsu, there isn't forms, but you have to put things together to make them work. So in a way, it's a loose form, if that makes sense. You start standing up, and then something you may do to get someone to the ground or defend being put on the ground. If you're on the ground, then you have to be able to connect the next thing. So they're all interconnected. Like, they have differences. Like you're saying, there's definitely in jiu-jitsu, the emphasis is takedowns and being on the ground, grappling. Muay Thai, the emphasis is standing up, striking, punching, kicking, elbows, knees. And yes, there's still sweeps in kickboxing, but if you did sport kickboxing, it wouldn't stay on the ground. You'd get back up. And then karate kind of has a little bit of all of those elements. It's still primarily a stand-up style, but there are takedowns, and there are, in the style that I've been exposed to, primarily has gripping and grasping and controlling people with that sort of thing. And also there's, as you dive into it and get deeper into it, there are chokes and things that submissions, kinds of things that you would see in grappling. So I guess, but not everyone. Some different people have different kinds of comfort, right? Some people want to learn to keep everyone at a distance if they're being attacked. So they focus on the stand-up stuff, but they still do their jiu-jitsu so that if they do end up on the ground, they have enough knowledge over time to be able to deal with that. Some people prefer, getting in there and doing more like wrestling things, so being, doing a takedown, being on the ground primarily, and then learn enough striking so that if so I think, let me circle back a little bit to the karate, especially. They're striking, but it's also a defensive style. So you learn not just punching and kicking, but you also learn redirecting. You'll hear people refer to that as blocking. But again, I'm redirecting your energy. If you come at me, I'm going to try to, either step off or parry or, that kind of thing. Jiu-Jitsu's similar in that way. Muay Thai, you see that as well. But Jiu-Jitsu is similar because you're redirecting their energy, their bodies to your advantage. I don't know if that makes, if I went off on a tangent, I don't know.
No.
You're passionate about it and obviously very knowledgeable. So
yeah.
I just wonder, do you think, with all the people that come to your classes, what percentage do you think are taking it for the love of the sport and the practice, and what percentage are like, I don't want to say I'm afraid, but like, I really want to have this skill so I can use it in the real world versus just practicing a sport.
That's right. I think the percentage at first of people coming in for the self-defense real world stuff is smaller, but then when people embrace what we're doing and continue to do it, I think that adds to the percentage of people who will start to do it also for self-defense purposes, right? So they may not come in thinking, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm afraid and I have to protect myself. We do have people that definitely happens, and we do that. But I think a lot of people come in like, this looks like fun. This is a great way to stay in shape, meet people. There's also a social aspect,
that's the best part about a gym, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You meet people who have similar interests. So, so there's that. But then I think the people that stick with it in the long term, they start to reap the mental benefits of staying calm in the chaos of if you ever had to protect yourself. I mean, as someone who teaches others, we'll say not if you get attacked, if it, not when you get attacked, but if it should ever happen, these things we're showing you should help. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's going to happen no matter what. It's more like, hey, hopefully it never will. And learning these skills, you'll feel more, you'll present yourself in a more, confident way, as you were saying before.
Collected.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Because I can only, the word that comes to mind is disorientation. Yeah. Like if you're jumped or attacked, especially from behind, the disorientation has to be massive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And all of a sudden now your heart starts beating.
It's a lot different when you're preparing for something to come at you. You're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm there. You know what I mean?
You're doing this for sport.
When you're thinking about, what are we going to talk about in the show in the morning? What am I going to make for dinner? Like, you're not in that mindset, right?
Right. Exactly. No, that's an excellent point. So, yeah.
Have you ever been attacked?
Yes, but it was before I did this. And
oh, really?
Yeah. So,
is that why
when I was younger. So, but I also had parents, and I had a father who was like, there was no martial arts when I was growing. I mean, for me anyway, there was never on the radar, but he was always like, you need to be aware that not everybody's a good person, and you have to, be prepared to do what you need to do. So it wasn't like there's many people who have had very traumatic experiences. It was kind of, it didn't last long because all I knew was to, like slap them.
Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah. So there was we were driving around and we stopped somewhere, and the person decided they wanted something that I didn't want to give. So I was high school. And so, I just made it clear that I wasn't going to let that happen. And I used my hands and feet, and then the person took me home, and I never saw them again. Yeah. So,
thankfully, escalate.
And then, there was another situation where I was in the dugout of a softball game, and someone who was supposedly my friend was mad, and they reached over to punch me, and I just punched them first. I mean, things like that.
So you've always had a little bit of an instinct to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah. But now that I've done the martial arts for as long as I have, I end up in those situations as much, because I think the mental aspect is so important. People, you create, like I said before, self-awareness, situational awareness. You are able,
like, you give off a vibe, like,
don't
mess with me.
I guess.
That's fascinating.
Or subconsciously or consciously, you don't put yourself in positions to be able to.
A combination of those things. Yeah, for sure. And also, you learn, even though you learn words better. Right, you learn I know. Do you know what I mean?
I remember both my kids go to your dojo, and a lot of the kids were waiting and they were making a lot of noise, and you were like, you let it go on for like maybe about 90 seconds, and you were like, guys, can we be quiet? Or just you said it in a way in which I wouldn't have said it. I would have been like, quiet, like it was,
So this is a good point, right? So
you said it in a way I can't. That stuck with me though from the other day. I was like, look at the way she said that.
I don't remember exactly either, but my approach has been, and this is from the martial arts, from other other things I've done in my life, educationally, working with people. The best approach is a positive approach, right? So even though, when I was younger, I just I guess part of my personality is you never guess what I'm thinking, because I'll let you know.
I've already told you.
However, I've learned to temper that, and I think the martial arts has helped me temper that in a positive way. Where, if, like you said, I gave them a chance to quiet down on their own, because they know what the rules are. But at some point,
I saw the sign.
I was like, okay, this is just a bit much. So I'll find a positive way to say it, like we need to stop being so noisy. I don't remember what I said,
and just respect the dojo. Respect the environment. And I struggle with that in the house because I got 5 kids and I can't get them to quiet down, and I know they're kids, but still.
I imagine there's a fair amount of like composure and kind of maturity and like confidence that comes from training in these disciplines that just naturally seeps its way into your personality, right?
Well, it does, and I think one of the approaches we take, that I see from the martial arts in a big picture perspective is, and this is how you know if you're at a good place or not, that they are teaching their students how to have internal control, right? So I'm not going to be standing over you every day of your life to remind you to be quiet, to remind you to stay calm, to remind you to take a deep breath. So let me start showing you the tools and how to use them, but you have to embrace that and learn how to use it yourself, right? So that mental aspect. So because I think you said it, staying calm in a chaotic, or I forget what you said, disorienting situation is your best thing. And breathing has a lot to do with that. Like being able to breathe.
Because you'll use up all your energy.
Yeah. And the hardest part, the hardest piece I think people can have a hard time embracing is separating your emotion from your reaction, right? So if I had yelled and screamed at the kids, all emotional and mad, how I felt inside, right? Like, stop it! If I had done that, they would have just, exactly. They would have been just like, oh my God, But instead, it's coming, commanding kind of a calm but firm and assertive. I like to use the word assertive because I think people, there's a difference between being aggressive and assertive, right? Assertive, I'm still asserting myself, but aggression is like emotional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And emotion gets in the way of clear thinking.
Yes.
So I think the biggest purpose around training in the martial arts is to teach yourself how to think clearly and respond clearly. And you've also built skills, physical skills, grappling, striking, balance, but without, people can have those skills, but not have the mental capacity to execute them in an effective way.
Yeah, because when you're leading with emotion, your point is getting lost.
It is.
Like when I blow up at work or something like that, nobody's hearing what I'm saying.
No.
They're just watching an explosion take place. Like you're not going to get the same kind of response.
That's right.
Well, what about kids? Because like Sater said, his younger boys there.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I hear from so many parents, I got them into martial arts because I wanted them to learn discipline. I wanted them to learn this. I guess I have many questions about this.
Sure.
What kind of kids is martial arts good for? And has it changed at all? Because I'm sure in the world, and parent however you want, I don't care.
That's right.
But I'm sure in the world of soft parenting or different ideas of how, it's important to look at different ways to raise children, right? But I'm sure, has there been any change in people being like, it's just too violent? Like, what's the landscape of kids in martial arts? I guess is
that's
what I'm
such a good question, Marjo. So I've been doing this for, in this field for over 30 years, right? So 33 years or whatever. So the landscape has changed a lot in terms of parenting and being gentle and, and again, I agree with you, parent how you would like.
Right. And it is important to teach your kids emotional awareness and things like that.
And well-being. But you shouldn't, you shouldn't, right.
That shouldn't be the only thing you're regulating.
Exactly.
Right?
So we've kind of, so everything has a pendulum, right? So everything swings, right? Yeah. So, you had like real disciplinarian stuff. And then now, you have, and again, everyone falls within the spectrum somewhere. Then you have like, I can't yell at my, super soft, right? Yeah. And I really think it's better to fall somewhere in the middle,
usually,
right? And
usually, right? Yeah, with anything.
Yeah, and kids, as much as we would love it, kids aren't born with knowing how to do anything. They learn that from modeling. They learn that from, the various people in their lives. Yeah. So I think the thing that stands out the most now is kids are sometimes not being held accountable through this softness. And to me, every person needs to be held accountable and understand how their actions and behaviors affect others, as well as consequences it could have for themselves, right? So in the martial arts, like when you're doing that, there's immediate consequence. If I punch this and I do it right, I hit the target, it makes a cool sound, and I don't hurt my hand or my wrist.
Right.
Okay. So that's pretty obvious. But, we also have physicians who will recommend to parents, their child has attention deficit disorder, or, even be on the spectrum and things, and being able to sort of help them acclimate to real world situations and social situations. But it's always an interesting thing when a parent brings their child in because they have disciplinary problems. They're not listening. They're not focusing at home, at school. They don't want to do what they're being asked. They have tantrums, and so we're like, okay.
You're like, great. Can't wait to coach your kid.
We have it's part of how I see what I do.
Sure.
So it's like, but a collaboration has to happen. So we'll say, okay, well, here's our strategies. Here's how we do that. This is what's going to happen. When they're in the class, they're going to be expected to listen. They're going to be expected to follow directions. They're going to be expected, sometimes they're going to be moving. Sometimes they're going to be sitting still. They're going to have to work well with others, and that kind of thing. Oh, yeah, this is great. This is what we want. And when you have a collaborative parent, so this thing keeps falling off my head. When we have a collaboration from whoever is the caretaker of the student, the kid that's being brought in, it works. It works really well. They do better at school. All of that works better. But sometimes you get a situation, to speak to what you asked, where they come in and at first they're doing really well because they get the structure and they're doing what they need to do. But then slowly it's clear that in other parts of their life, there's still no structure, still no accountability, that sort of thing. So eventually that child starts to slip in, the class that we're teaching. And then we start to hold them accountable. And some parents will talk with us and talk about it, and you'll be able to, again, there'll be some shifts even at home and at school. But sometimes there won't be any change, and then it starts to become, well, this is just how they are. Yeah, this is just how they are. This is,
just making excuses for it, or
and so then
bad behavior.
Yeah, so the landscape has changed in terms of, there used to be a point in time where you would have parents come in and this is part of what we want from this, and they would listen because they understand your experience and expertise and be like, okay, cool, and you would help them and you'd collaborate. But now there's more cases. It's still less than the majority, but there's more cases of where parents say they want that, but they don't really.
Yeah. Or they don't want to put in the work and do their part.
Yeah, exactly.
With the discipline and all that.
Yeah. So.
We see.
Did I answer that question?
No, yeah.
Yeah. You started when you were a teenager?
No.
20s?
No.
When did you start?
I started in my late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Now
you're making everybody know how old I am. But.
And how rare is it for you to be this sort of at this level, 7th degree black belt as a female? Like, how is it weighted more men?
Yeah, there's definitely more males who attain that, but there's more. So when I first started, there were less, but now there's more.
Yep.
So again, everything has evolved in terms of, say for example, like you said, you're talking about the karate. So in the karate, if you think about the historical perspective from why it was developed and that sort of thing. It was, the men did the karate, women did dance. But they both had, because of the time that these things were evolving, part of it was the dance was still a representation of a way to defend yourself. They would use hairpins and things like that. And, the dance had movements in it that were, martial arts striking or blocking or, movements that way. But now where the roots comes from, Okinawa, the roots of it is that women also train in karate and men also do the dance.
Because they overlap.
Yeah. So there's overlap now. So yeah, there's still a smaller percentage of women with high rank, but it's more than it was when I first started.
What about at the youth age? Do you see kind of a 60-40, 70-30? What are we, or does it all depend on the...
That's a good question. I think there's still more boys that do it and stick with it than girls. Yeah. But again, I think when you find a space where you have instructors that are both male and female, you draw more of a of both, more both. But so just like anything else, like if there's representation and people can see themselves in the leadership, then you're going to have more representatives of both.
Totally. That's what I was thinking. Like, as a parent, I think it would be cool to send my little girl to a class that's being taught by a woman.
Yeah.
It's
and
great.
that, we do see that. So, yeah.
Self-defense programs, real ones versus fake ones. What are the red flags for the fake ones, and what are some myth versus facts? Like,
I'm thinking about those fake Instagram gym people. I'm sure there's fake martial arts Instagram people as well, right?
Always, yeah. So again, any program that claims that they can in 2 hours that you'll be able to defend yourself from anything, that's a red flag.
Right.
Anything that claims that just kick them in the groin and you'll be able to run away, or just strike them in the nose and break their nose, and those things sound impressive. And
so if you take your palm and shove it here as hard as you can, you're not going to die?
Probably not. I mean, use a baseball bat, be a lot more effective. You know what I mean? Like swing a bat, and that might work well. But the
amount of force it would take.
The amount of force it would take, and the human skull has evolved to take a lot of damage.
And what if the person ducks? What if they move their head? Like, you should probably have a larger game plan than just one move, right?
Yeah. So that's it. So a legit program that's offering you a way to learn how to defend yourself, we'll talk about, okay, look, this is going to take more than 2 hours. This is going to take, you have to commit more than that. Any commitment is better than none, and so, and a program that speaks to and recognizes that, one thing isn't, like Marjorie said, it's not just one thing. It's being able to deal with the chaos of it. Being able to stay calm. I think
keep
that
going
is
back to that because I agree totally.
That is the hardest part.
Yeah,
Listen, we've talked to law enforcement officers on this show. We've talked to all different, and everybody said you can study and you can do things till you're blue in the face. When you're in that situation,
That's right.
You never know, and that goes for anything. You never know
That's
how
right.
you're going to react until you're in that situation.
That's right.
But to your point, if you've practiced these things enough, enough of it's committed to muscle memory,
Right.
or you can keep yourself calm and think, okay, I need to do A, B, C, and D.
That's right. So
that doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't happen overnight.
How long did it take you to get there?
I couldn't put a number on it,
Years?
but yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, if you come for months, it's still going to be better if you didn't come at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But so for example, when I run self-defense program, specifically for, say, women, who haven't never done anything at all, one of the first things I say to them is, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, number one. You have to do your best to put aside your emotional responses so that you can be as clear-headed as possible. Have your emotional reaction after. Do your best. And the things I'm going to show you are a sampling of the things that you want to do long-term, So it's not, and that goes for anyone, for self-defense, kids, men, anyone. I just bring up women because it tends to be skewed that way in terms of attacks and things.
I think women's egos are in a sense, maybe for a guy to walk into a self-defense class, maybe there's subconsciously you're like, I'm admitting I don't know what to do.
Well, that's why
I'm just assuming that's why more women take self-defense classes than men.
Yes, me and Ryan are here for the self-defense class.
Guys would just sign up for a regular class.
Well, and that's why you'll see men will do Muay Thai, they'll do Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
So they're disguising their desire to know how to protect themselves by by rolling around or punching each other, that sort of thing.
I'll admit it, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I've never even gotten into a fight. And I'm
Which is
13
good.
years old, I think, the last time. I mean, and that was a bullshit fight. I mean, you end up hugging.
Right. It was all done. Right. So
I mean,
the original question was just how do you know legit, right? So I think legit just means that, just whoever's teaching it doesn't say this is the answer.
Yeah.
You'll know it in a few hours. It's just someone who'll say, look, this is better than nothing. Here are some, key techniques that maybe, could be effective quicker because they're easier to learn. So that's the other thing, but if you really want this to become something that you just happens when in the chaos of it or the disorientation of it, you have to practice it over and over. And also situations where they're realistic but safe, right? You want to, so for example, if you want someone to learn how to get someone off of them, you have to put them in that situation and have them practice it. Like someone's on top of you, here's what you need to do. Because if you never practice being in an uncomfortable position, when you're in it, your first reaction is, oh my God, right? Instead of, wait, I've been here.
Yeah, I know the feeling of somebody's weight on top of me. I know.
That's right. And the same thing even when we, even if you're sparring, right? Because sparring is an important aspect. You take all the things you've been learning and you try to put it together, in a more safe, it's still safe, but in a more freestyle way. Like, can you chain the things together that you've been learning, in a more, less structured way, but it's still safe, right? So, just being able to learn how to change what's happening, based on what's happening,
situational.
What's an easy way to sort of, or not easy, but the first thing you teach someone in self-defense, if you were trying to disorient the other party, where would you strike them? In the nose, eye, cheek? What are some of the common?
Yes. So poking people in, the eye, if it's really a big threat, even going to the throat, boxing the ears is very effective.
How do you hit them in the throat?
You would probably, it's
not something that being taught in a podcast studio. But give us your best shot.
So
no pun intended.
No, but softer areas you can use
how
your finger. So you could use your, you could use your finger.
Maybe I should do it. I don't mind being forceful.
Or
I know, yeah.
You could. I mean, elbows are good.
How would you do the elbow?
So if
get him. I love this.
elbow in here, or here, the tip. So when people are first learning, we try to show them things that are going to do the least damage on that person and the most damage on the other person if needed, right? So
without killing them.
Well, see, that's the thing, So self-defense, you have to be able to justify the amount of force that you use.
Yeah. Especially we talk about that. At least I know gun laws in Massachusetts are very, I imagine any kind of assault, deadly force, whatever.
Well, that's it. If you kick someone, I think it's still the law. I don't think it's changed. If you kick someone with a shod foot, that's considered.
I don't know what that means.
It's considered with shoes or boots or a heel.
Oh, okay.
It can be considered a deadly weapon.
So I like pretty much everything about Massachusetts besides stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
like it's
if I
really,
have my running shoe on and kick you, there's a different charge than if I have like a stiletto on and I kick you.
Yeah.
Shod foot. I've definitely heard that.
Yeah, and but if you can justify, I mean, that's some of the things we talk about.
You have to prove that you're in fear of your life.
That's right. And that's another thing to know if it's legit. Do they talk about the legalities? Do they talk about the consequences after it's all over? And being able, and especially if you're you start becoming a trained person, you have to. It's not like you have to. It's kind of a myth that you register your hands. That's not.
Yeah, but being a trained person, that can work against you.
It can.
I mean, my God.
If you go over the top. So that's why martial arts shouldn't be just about blasting people or choking people. It should be about how can I carry myself and how can I deal with the situation effectively, quickly and effectively, so I can walk away, and even the perpetrator can walk away. Like, what's the point?
I know we're asking you a lot of kind of like hypotheticals, but you're just immersed in the world, and now it's got me curious. What do you think? A lot of people who are highly trained in martial arts also carry guns, like without politicizing whether or not you should own a gun. But do you think it gives people more confidence to carry a weapon? Like, I don't know. I'm just one. I don't know how to phrase the question.
No, it's okay. I have a license to carry.
Yeah.
I don't carry my weapon with me. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should sometimes. I don't know, but I don't. But so like you said, I think they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Right.
I think there's a responsibility that comes with both. I think there's a huge weight with having a license to carry and carrying a gun around, because the other danger with that is maybe you know how to use it safely, but what if it ends up in the hands of the person that's attacking? So
there's a lot of variables. Yeah. There, right?
So I think that you have martial artists who believe in, some who do and some who don't. Some who
I didn't know if it was taboo to carry a gun. There's no kind of.
No, I think again, it's just like anything else. Just like which art you pick, whether you pick multiple or one. It's a personal preference. I
almost think it would give me more confidence, because I imagine if I felt like I physically and mentally was trained to handle myself well in that kind of situation, it would make me less nervous that I would bobble metaphorically or literally like a weapon. You know what I mean?
That makes total sense, because then you're going to be calmer to use it. You're going to have more awareness about not losing it. So.
The different cultures between dojos. Now, we all know this line from the Karate Kid. Pain does not exist in this dojo, does it? No sensei. Right?
Yeah, but that's not real.
Yeah.
It is real.
Well, unfortunately, there are spaces where people...
King Cobra. Excuse me, the Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
I know what you meant.
They're even in the black suit, the black gis or whatever.
Well, the irony of it is in the Cobra Kai series, you have that extreme, but then you also have the other extreme, which isn't really. It's not completely reflective of how
real life.
Plus, even if you watch the original Karate Kid movies, Sensei Miyagi, no, you don't solicit violence or make it or be the one that starts it. Elicit? I don't know, whatever.
I know what you mean.
So, but if you need to, you do what you have to do to stop it, and that may mean using your karate to do it. So it's almost like in the karate, the Cobra Kai series, the one is a little too soft and the other one's a little too hard. So it's kind of neat how they even in this show, they brought them together and balanced it, right? Yeah. So, but anyway, back to the original question. There are toxic places where you walk in and sometimes right away because everyone's again, that word I used before, posturing.
Yeah.
And, they're not friendly to new people. They actually
That sucks. I cannot stand
Yeah, like what's the point?
Dojos,
Wherever you go. Right. Where there's like
if it's somebody's first day, you should be giving them their flowers. Hey, you're the hardest part is showing up the first day, right?
Yeah.
There's something, you should be a dojo family, not a
Right.
Yeah, not a...
All the while earning your respect.
Right,
it's
exactly.
not like...
It's not a given, but you don't...
But being unnecessarily cold
no,
at the start is ridiculous.
Or leading by fear, or being too militaristic, right?
Yeah.
So, there's, where you don't want to... If there's no noise at all and people are just... Especially kids, right? They're just standing there.
Yeah.
That's a red flag, in my opinion. If there's total chaos and everyone's just doing their own thing and is like, So you have to have a good combination of the appropriate amount of noise for the activity that you're doing and the appropriate amount of structure so that people are listening and learning.
And there's also a difference between pain, like that quote that you said. There's a difference between pain and the being uncomfortable and working hard. Like no coach, trainer, anyone with any legitimacy is going to tell you to keep doing something that is putting you in pain. Like if you're injured, you're injured. That doesn't mean don't push yourself to that limit. But no, if you come in with a swollen ankle, I'm sure you're not going to tell them, oh, just suck it up, wrap it up and get out there.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Because there is the people who train with those mentalities and it just doesn't work.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah,
you got a problem with that?
And a great red flag, a big red flag is if you go to a place and you quickly find out that people are getting injured all the time.
Yeah.
That means there's no safety.
Some people like that though, huh? They continue to go.
It's sadistic.
They can't not. No, yes.
It's sadistic, and I don't think it's okay.
And I also don't think that those types of athletes or those types of people maintain for a long period of time in those sports.
They don't.
Because you can't. It's not physically... That no days off mentality, I just have such a pushback against. And I'm not saying don't work hard. Don't move your body every day. But if you're in pain, you need to let your body heal. Like if you can't go at 100 every single day. It doesn't work.
Well, no. And there's research now that says if you push your body too hard, it's going to break down. Yeah. If you don't listen to your body and do what your body needs to train and to rest, then eventually your body's just going to tell you, I'm done.
Right.
But you also have to help people because some people grow up in family cultures where there is no pain tolerance at all. So helping people navigate how injured am I?
Right.
Can I work through this, or does it need to be iced and, elevated and that sort of thing? So that's another part of what we try to help people find out about themselves. Sure. Again, there's a lot of self-discovery. I mean, the best places help people with this self-discovery and how far do you want to go and what can you accomplish, and they reward those kinds of things, and there's respect amongst all the students with each other, and everybody's always helping each other. There's camaraderie, and senior students are welcoming. I joke sometimes with a new person, say, look, you may be overwhelmed because of how much people want to help you, not how much help you're not getting, right? So you're overwhelmed by being helped too much, at first, that sort of thing.
Too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal.
So, again, but striking that balance is important. So, red flags, people getting injured all the time. Yeah. People don't look happy doing what they're doing, there should be some happiness.
When I open the door and you're placing a little bell that dings, ding, ding, ding. Come on in. We're going to learn martial arts.
Maybe don't go off their happiness in the middle of the workout, maybe at the end.
Right. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you
totally.
Like you said, working hard, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, but that's different than this just isn't enjoyable.
Like muscle soreness the next day is a lot different than pain. Like I injured something.
Bruising and all that stuff. So
yeah, Kreese from Karate Kid, man. He was and then Terry.
That was
in Karate Kid 2 or 3.
Yeah, he was
Terry Silver.
Pure evil. Yeah,
Does it drive you?
He had the ponytail, the back.
Does it drive you nuts when people constantly reference TV shows and movies having to do with martial arts?
No, I think it's kind of cool because what I see it as is they have an interest, right?
Yes.
So they have an interest, and it's a springboard, and it's a way to sort of help them connect to what they're going to do, and also it's a way to sort of, that's more just movie stuff, but it's fun to dive into that. So it sort of helps people, if you do it right, it helps them navigate real versus not, and fun versus, that sort of thing. So I think, but it shows they're interested.
So. The local police department here takes classes from, or certain members of the local police department here takes classes from you guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to use that on the?
So
again,
yeah,
we can't have anything that doesn't have a law here in the great state
exactly.
of Massachusetts.
Who came to who first? First of all,
Well,
did they come to you and say, "Listen, can you train us," or did you say, "Hey, listen, we'll train you guys on some"?
So it was a slow roll. Ever since we started to do martial arts in this area, ever since we started doing martial arts, we thought that it's a good thing for law enforcement to have exposure to. But it was a slow roll to kind of get, old school law enforcement people to buy into, what we were selling, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then, but then we finally kind of got an inroad with a person in the law enforcement who understood that. Plus, there's also started to do, like in Atlanta, Georgia, right? They did some studies that showed that officers who trained, particularly at that point in time, Jiu-Jitsu, there was less use of their weapons, tasing, the bully club. Is that what you call it? The bully club.
Yep.
Even they're pulling the gun, firearm.
Yep.
So they did a whole study on it, and so then that kind of exploded, right? So we were kind of sitting there waiting, right? And so we were able to sort of take advantage of that, and so the whole idea. So for me, the law enforcement thing is multi-dimensional, right? One, helping officers stay calm and know that they can rely on other things, other than if they're being threatened with deadly force, they can figure out ways to de-escalate by using the techniques and strategies that we're showing them. It's not exclusively jiu-jitsu, and the stand-up stuff that we show them is more defensive, right? So if someone's coming at you, all right, how are you going to defend that? So you can get close enough to, safely take the person to the ground so that you can handcuff them safely and those sorts of things, and minimize harm to yourself and to the perpetrator, right? So it was kind of happened, it sort of happens together. We've been reaching out for a long time, and then finally there was a person who, saw this research and understood the importance. Yeah, exactly. And then we were able to have inroads, and it's, we've been able to kind of reach out to the entire,
outside of
just the city and that sort of thing. So
has anyone said to you, wow, I didn't know that, they didn't teach me that in training, or they didn't teach me that move in training?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, there are things that we've been able to add to their pool. Their pool. What is that? Pool house? Is that pool
Wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse. Thank you. I knew I didn't have it. Thank you, Margaret.
No,
like it's
all
not
good.
a pool house. You see, but you knew.
Added to their golf course of thoughts. Yeah.
Well, I knew.
Yes.
Right. Wheel. Anyway, the circular thing. House.
I gotcha. We got there.
Anyway, so yes, there's been, and we've had right off within the first, and we've been doing is it 5 years now? I don't know, a while now. So, and we had law enforcement training with us before that, before we had specific, classes for that. But almost immediately, we had people say, "Hey, I used this thing you showed us, and it diffused the situation quickly, and we were able to control the person in a safe way, and didn't have to pull anything off my belt." And so it was really cool, and so we've also helped them in terms of fine-tuning handcuffing, and one of the things that was really cool that they had never seen before that we developed were some ways to put people that were being resistant to going in cruisers or coming out of their car.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to just try to pull
Yank
them out
them,
and bonk
smash their head off.
Yeah,
the door.
exactly, and stuff like that. So, and that has been a real,
that's great.
a real benefit.
And I imagine mentally too. I mean, all we've been talking about is situational awareness, how to stay calm.
That's
And
right.
I mean, talk about a job where you're in a high pressure situation all the time.
You said it. That's exactly
I'm
it.
sure it just adds to their kind of confidence.
It does, and then learning to let them cook. They call it "let them cook" kind of thing. So if someone's, you've got them, you had to put them on the ground because they were just trying to hit you or whatever, you know, flailing,
resisting.
Resisting all those things.
Yeah.
You know, being able to just sort of stay calm and just let it ride out a little bit, let the person tire out without any striking or any things that they're, you know, not allowed to do, you know. So, and they know where to put their weight, so there's no stress on the respiratory system of the person that they're restraining, which is really important and key, as we all know. You know, so you know, and just kind of diffusing and then get the person where they need to go.
That's great that they've partnered up with you. And
it is. We, you know, and not to mention, so I said multidimensional. The other piece for us, I should say, is that for anyone who's helping to train law enforcement should be the community relations and confidence from the community that it should be able to develop, right? So better optics, you know, better feeling safer, even, you know, feeling like, well, these are people that really are here to help keep us safe, you know, because we know a lot of good men and women who are law enforcement, and they get a bad rap because they are law enforcement, you know. So
especially if they have a beard and tattoos.
Yeah. You know, but you know, I
understand.
You know, so I feel like, you know, being able to bring to the, you know, help the law enforcement be calmer and help, you know, deal with situations without pulling those weapons or tools.
Benefits the community as a whole.
Exactly. So, you know, that's going to take a while.
Mistakes,
yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Well, Connie Flynn, we appreciate it.
Yeah, really.
Thanks, guys.
Interesting conversation.
Thank you so much.
I bet you there's people
Got a
listening
lot of
who are
respect
like,
for it.
Thank you.
I bet you there's people listening who are like, I gotta get myself into martial arts.
I hope so.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
thanks for giving me the time to talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Slater's been saying forever since I've known him. I'm gonna come. Actually, he took some classes. He had fun.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, this was 10 years ago, bro. I know.
Was it that long?
10 years ago.
What happened?
Yeah, I don't know.
What happened to
flies.
Family
Time flies,
and you know? Come on,
well,
you got
the kids. So I'm just projecting it onto my kids.
That's great.
Just
That's
living
great.
vicariously through them. That's healthy.
Well, they're doing fantastic.
All right, great.
All right.
Great to see you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, guys.